Rusting ships sit stranded in a desert where water once stretched to the horizon. This is the story of the Aral Sea, one of the greatest environmental disasters in human history. Once the fourth largest lake in the world, the Aral Sea was a vital source of livelihood for communities in Central Asia. But in just a few decades, it has nearly disappeared, leaving behind toxic dust storms, economic collapse, and a haunting reminder of humanity's impact on nature. But is this the end of the Aral Sea's story? Or can science, international cooperation, and human resilience bring it back to life? In this documentary, we'll explore the causes of its destruction, the ongoing challenges, and the efforts to restore what was lost. The fight for the Aral Sea is far from over.
Largest lake in the world, its desertification, once considered one of the planet's worst environmental disasters, has now become an inspiring tale of revival. Kazakhstan has announced that the northern part of the Aral Sea has seen a major increase in water volume, nearly double.
The Aral Sea, straddling Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, was once the world's fourth largest saltwater lake, covering 68,000 square kilometers. Its rich biodiversity supported thriving fishing industries and communities. In the 1960s, ambitious Soviet irrigation projects diverted the Amu Darya and Sir Darya rivers to cultivate cotton, the white gold. This diversion led to a dramatic decline in water inflow, triggering the Aral Sea's rapid shrinkage. By the 1980s, the sea had receded significantly, splitting into the North and South Aral Seas. The exposed seabed, now known as the Aral Desert, spans over 40,000 square kilometers, littered with abandoned ships. The desiccation of the Aral Sea has triggered an environmental and humanitarian crisis of staggering proportions. Once a thriving body of water, its near disappearance has left behind an arid wasteland known as the Aral Desert, where powerful dust storms sweep across the region. These storms carry toxic particles, laden with salt, pesticides, and industrial pollutants, into the air, contaminating soil, water, and even the lungs of those who live nearby. For the people of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, this crisis is more than an ecological disaster. It's a daily struggle. Respiratory diseases, cancers, and other severe health conditions have surged due to prolonged exposure to polluted air. The collapse of the fishing industry, once the backbone of the region's economy, has led to widespread unemployment and poverty. Entire communities have been forced to adapt or migrate, as what was once a prosperous region now stands as a stark warning of environmental mismanagement. Our livelihoods vanished with the sea. The air we breathe is poisoned, and our children suffer from various ailments. These words echo the reality of those who once depended on the Aral Sea for survival. When the water disappeared, it took more than just a way of life. It left behind an environmental catastrophe that continues to devastate communities. With the seabed now a toxic desert, strong winds carry salt, pesticides, and industrial pollutants across the region, contaminating everything in their path. Respiratory diseases, birth defects, and cancers have become alarmingly common, affecting generations. Once thriving fishing towns are now ghost villages, where families struggle with poverty and health crises. For those who remain, each breath carries the weight of a disaster still unfolding. Their future depends on whether humanity can undo the mistakes of the past, or if they will be left to suffer the consequences of a vanishing sea.
Behind me, you see what once was the Aral Sea, the fourth largest lake in the world. After losing over 90% of its original size, the land became the largest desert of Central Asia.
Amidst the despair, Kazakhstan embarked on a bold restoration project. In 2005, with support from the World Bank, the Aral Dam was constructed, separating the North Aral Sea from its southern counterpart. The dam's success exceeded expectations. Water levels rose, salinity decreased, and fish populations began to rebound, reviving the local fishing industry. To combat the devastating effects of the Aral Sea's desiccation, large-scale afforestation initiatives have been launched across the former seabed. The exposed land, now known as the Aral Desert, is a major source of toxic dust storms that spread salt, pesticides, and pollutants across the region, worsening respiratory diseases and soil degradation. In response, environmentalists and local governments have turned to nature for a solution, planting drought-resistant vegetation to stabilize the shifting sands. One of the most effective species in this effort is the Saxaul tree, a hardy plant well adapted to arid conditions. Saxaul's deep root system helps anchor the soil, reducing wind erosion and preventing toxic dust from spreading. Over the years, thousands of hectares of the former seabed have been replanted, transforming barren wastelands into green patches of hope. Satellite monitoring has captured the remarkable progress of these efforts, revealing the gradual greening of the Aral Desert. While the Aral Sea may never fully return to its former size, afforestation proves that nature can recover when given the chance. These projects not only improve air quality and biodiversity, but also provide a lifeline for local communities seeking to reclaim their land from an environmental catastrophe.
This has very rightly been called one of the greatest environmental tragedies of the 20th century, epitomized by these iconic images with which many of you are probably familiar. These are fishing boats.
The restoration journey underscores the importance of international collaboration. Organizations like the International Fund for Saving the Aral Sea, IFAS, coordinate efforts across Central Asian nations to promote sustainable water management. Adopting efficient irrigation technologies reduces water wastage, ensuring that rivers can sustain both agriculture and the Aral Sea. While progress in the North Aral Sea is encouraging, the South Aral Sea, primarily in Uzbekistan, remains largely desolate. Political complexities and resource constraints pose significant challenges to its restoration. Restoring the South Aral Sea requires unprecedented cooperation, substantial funding, and a commitment to sustainable practices. Empowering local communities through education and involvement is crucial. Their participation ensures that restoration efforts are culturally sensitive and sustainable.
Next catastrophe? No, we don't. And unfortunately, it is ongoing process. It is on the table. And right now, I think it is the most important topic.
It calls upon us to reflect on our relationship with nature and to strive for a balance that sustains both the environment and human prosperity. The Aral Sea catastrophe is not just history, it's an unfolding crisis. Once the world's fourth largest lake, it has nearly vanished due to reckless water diversion, leaving behind a toxic desert and economic despair. This isn't a tragedy of the past, it's an ongoing disaster that continues to affect millions, especially in Uzbekistan. But who is to blame? Was it the Soviet-era policies that prioritized cotton over sustainability? Is it the continued mismanagement of water resources? Or is it a stark warning of what happens when human ambition ignores environmental balance? Right now, in Uzbekistan, the Aral Sea is one of the most pressing topics on the table. The question isn't just about how it was lost, it's about whether we can save what remains. Can humanity reverse one of its greatest environmental mistakes, or is it already too late? Hence, the story of the Aral Sea is one of both destruction and resilience. It stands as a stark reminder of what happens when human ambition disregards nature's balance. The once thriving sea has been reduced to a shadow of its former self, leaving behind an ecological and humanitarian crisis that continues to unfold. But is this the end? Not necessarily. Efforts to restore parts of the Aral Sea show that change is possible. The Koch Aral Dam, afforestation projects, and sustainable water management practices have brought hope to some regions, yet much more needs to be done. The fate of the Aral Sea, and the people who depend on it, rests in the hands of governments, scientists, and communities willing to fight for its revival. The question remains, will we learn from this disaster and act in time? Or will the Aral Sea be remembered only as a cautionary tale of environmental neglect?